To farm or to gank, this is the eternal jungle question. And with the jungle changes, the nerfs to experience, the gains in gold, the shifts in the jungle itemization, this question remains eternal. However, what if I told you that it is in fact the wrong question, and instead jungling has reached a much more fluid reality? In this video, you are going to learn all the secret tips about how you can get 7 CS per minute on a ganking jungler, while still out ganking a farming jungler. This video will give you all of the answers you seek about which is better for Season 13, to gank or to farm. But if you want the data, best builds, and the best live companion, Mobalytics is here to help. Much like our redesigned jungle, Mobalytics app has been redesigned to give you all of the best information that you need to thrive before, during, and after game. While Riot did remove scouting, Champ Select has been redesigned to give you all of the information on the champions on your team and on the enemy team, so you can know which team is stronger, along with gold leads and insane informational trackers in the overlay. You can keep track of your progress in-game to help you hit the targets you need to win. The power spike notifications in-game will mean you never have to worry about messing up again. Leona 6, Roman gank it. Nocturne 6, don't over push and dive. And so you know ADCs need this, but you know what? They're not going to use it, which means you can use it and then counter gank and obliterate the enemy jungler. The brand new Mobalytics app has everything you need to improve in Season 13 League of Legends. Click the link in the description below to download and become Ascended. My fellow junglers, if you want to be a spam ganker and it doesn't work out, or even if you make good ganks but you just don't get the kills, your laners don't have the damage, you don't have the kill threat, you're falling back to your camps as a reward, the enemy jungler who's farming is sequencing and playing around their ultimate, tracking you and counter ganking you. So if you're going to be a spam ganker, I advise following the strategies as we head into this particular game here, which will show you exactly what I'm talking about. We have a SYLAS versus a HECARIM, which we must have because these two champions are quite popular and one is not able to AFK farm and match a HECARIM's tempo at all. If you try to play against a farming jungler and perhaps you are more ganky, you're not going to match their farming tempo. Don't try and beat them, but you can still dictate the tempo. And in this particular case, if the HECARIM makes the right reads, he should be able to counter you and both junglers could get fed. Let's observe what happens. So we're going to start on our blue buff, we're going to do Grump and Wolves, right? Obviously we can go on down to the Raptors as well as the red and maybe look to do a 5 camp tempo clear into sort of a bottom lane gank, mid lane gank before the HECARIM finishes his full clear down. However, much like the Sejuani example we just looked at, why do that? Mid lane looks potentially gankable. We have a Victor versus an Echo, and the Echo is going to feel a little bit all-in-y, and of course he's melee, so if he does that, that is something we can punish. And what I love to put into my live jungle companion guides linked below for all the particular junglers in the game is this 3-quadrant blue side clear into a gank that allows you to go down, defend your red side, but also match a farming jungler who might be sequencing in the same direction. In this particular case, we go mid lane. As you see, we are forced to use our flash to kill the Echo. The HECARIM shows up and also kills the mid laner. Good adaptation by the HECARIM, recognizing that the SYLAS will overgank, the SYLAS will be more aggressive, but the SYLAS and all ganking junglers like the Rek'Sais of the world really snowball. You cannot allow them to just get away with ganks while you farm and do nothing. So if you're a farming jungler, this is a great example of using that adaptation to cut in, get a kill yourself, match the ganking jungler and say, hey, you know, I might farm faster than you, but I can gank just as well. And if you cannot, then you're probably not a meta jungler. Now, the severe risk of this as a ganking jungler to show exactly what you've done because they see 12 CS, they see you have a blue buff, you're holding mid lane, he knows you're going down to Raptors. He has the HP and resource advantage. He also has the Echo showing up before the Victor because he died first, which means it's highly likely you're going to actually have to give up your red side here. Why would we want to do that? That is so damn annoying, and that's why the HECARIM made the right play here. And instead of falling back to his blue side like a classical farming jungler does, say, look, I don't really care about my CS. I can always go back and get that. I'm going to kill you and take your CS. And already the ganking jungler, you can see the impact here forcing the show early. The HECARIM reacts and rotates. The HECARIM also gets a kill back. We only got an assist. Now we die and give him 2 kills. Both junglers using Moss Stumper, thank you, best items for these two. And all of a sudden, we're going to lose our red. We're going to lose our Raptors. He's going to fall back to his blue side. We're not going to be able to just run into the jungle and kill him. It looks severely compromised for the ganking jungler. And that's why I'm saying we got 7.1 CS per minute here as a SYLAS. How do we recover from this? As someone who's not going to farm as fast as your classical farming junglers, that they're in is a Season 13 magic. And while all of this is going on, yeah, you know, the bottom lane is looking like a bit of a war zone, and the HECARIM says, let me help you out with that, and snacks himself 2 more kills. So basically what we're learning here is that if you're a farming jungler, yes, you can sequence once, you can sequence twice, you can sequence 3 times. You might even sequence 4 times. But if you're not ganking during those downtimes, if you're not ganking those gankable lanes, and if you're not playing around your ultimate, then you're playing the game wrong. React to the information is the most important thing. can always fall back to your camps, and you will always get strong in both ways. The SYLAS, on the other hand, can't fall back to his camps as much, and you see here he uses the outside in rule, gets the top scuttle, knows the Raptors and Red are down, no point going bottom lane just for the Krugs. He could have shadowed the HECARIM, but do we win that 3v3? Is my bot lane even in position for me to go there? Because if I do and get nothing, the game's over. So he's forced to wait for his Grump, the worst possible thing. Level 3, waiting for my second spawn Grump, oh my goodness. Then he takes the Wolves, and now you're thinking, okay, well, he can keep sequencing, right? You gotta get back into the game through farming. No, mes chéris, once more. We know HECARIM sequenced from the top side down. We know he took our stuff, killed us, and fell back to his blue side, and then killed the bottom lane. This means he's gonna be more interested in that second spawn Raptor camp, that second spawn Krug camp, because he's gonna try and maybe take the Raptors, look for a gang, or take the Raptors, do Krugs, look for a top lane gang, or do Krugs and come on down to the Raptors. So the SYLAS says, alright, let me get in your face, and he moves into his jungle. Well, looks like that would be a little bit risky considering the nature of bottom lane and the state of the mid lane, so I'm gonna back out here. I'm not gonna be stupid. I'm going to drive across mid lane. Is it gankable? No, that's fine. The drive-by is good. Showing your presence, keeping them honest, showing that you're looking for the ganks, because if the lane was gankable, right, instead of going for the Raptors, you just kill the Echo. If he's pushed up, you just kill him, and then you go to your Raptors and Krugs. Here we had to drive through. We didn't get much. HECARIM knows after this, and Echo knows exactly where each other are. HECARIM though sees that juicy divey bottom lane, and he's gonna show up, and SYLAS is gonna show up. HECARIM will snack himself that 5th kill, but SYLAS will kill both of his bottom laners because they're low, and that's what he can do. So essentially what you're learning here is when a ganking jungler doesn't find those free ganks early, like maybe a Rek'Sai might be able to do, as long as the farming jungler is getting fed and doing their stuff, you can still afford yourself a counter gank. You can still track and try to get those ganks. As long as you're not being dumb about your invades like the SYLAS wasn't, and you're being smart about where you're going to show up and make that PvP play, you'll get back into the game. Now, as a consequence of this, and obviously the minions that were there, the SYLAS closes the gap on the CS lead. Now we're only down 4 as the HECARIM goes to the top side scuttle. You'll notice I'm not concerned about top lane here because, you know, they're kind of top laners, they're on the island, and I've seen such funny match histories where we have huge amount of kills. Top laners both have like 6% KP, so you can buff the experience in top lane, but you really can't teach them macro on how to leave the lane, can you? When the farming jungler gets 6 like the HECARIM does, you're gonna use it with the roaming support to kill the mid lane. In fact, you don't even need the support, but that's the point as a farming jungler. Sequence and show up where needed, play the map as appropriate, and then get your ultimate and use that sucker. Don't save it, use it. The SYLAS in the meantime has to do his blue to get 6 and says, okay, look, I know that you have not reset either, therefore you're gonna fall back to your red side camps probably, and Akali looks a little bit diveable. So, we're gonna go top lane, we're gonna do SYLAS things and Akali things to the Akali, we're gonna survive, and now you're noticing he's not falling back to his Grump and his Wolves. He has Night Harvester completed. And as our SYLAS pops off, when the HECARIM pops off, don't forget to please smite the like button if you are enjoying this video. Let me know in the comments which jungle you are playing and which of these two styles you actually prefer. The Yorick is gonna have to base here, the Akali is gonna be back in the lane first, and HECARIM can use that tempo to snack a Herald. So let's just give up our Grump and Wolves here, we're ganking jungler after all. Yes, we can farm, but it's not the prerogative. We're gonna go back to base, get our Harvester, and shoot directly to the enemy bot lane. This is a classic strategy that I tell you to do all the time. Before you do your bottom camps, before you do your quadrants, can you gank bottom lane? Can we look for a dragon? Can we do something before we fall back to that? If not, then I can do the quadrant and then look afterwards. The goal is always to use the outside in rule, which of course we do successfully because the enemy bottom lane doesn't expect us to show up so quickly after showing top lane, and we're able to kill the ADC, do some Eing over the wall and kill the Lulu, and now we can move back into our jungle. We know the HECARIM's taken that Herald, he's gonna sequence those Raptors and come to the bottom side. The most important part about farming junglers, the most important part about counter jungling, is that obviously farming is so important for our new jungle pads. We want to get to 20 treats as soon as possible, and we want to get to 0 treats as soon as possible. However, in this case, the HECARIM is being, shall we say, a little bit greedy because he hasn't really based and the SYLAS has Night Harvester, so why are you counter jungling without using your Oracle's lens? Because you have the Herald, so it seems like a really big oversight and a lot of greed here because now the ganking jungler has caught up to the kill amount. He's done a top lane gank, he's done a bottom lane gank. The HECARIM's filled that time with taking an objective and farming, but now the pressure seeps in. Okay, look, I need to keep denying this guy. He's gonna start to snowball. And as you would have seen, he died, and now the SYLAS has gone for the outside in rule for the crab, but he sees an Echo, so he chases the Echo, we get the wolf camp as well, we get the crab, we go back to the mid lane to try get a kill. In the meantime, the HECARIM says, hey, he went topside, free dragon, and then he's gonna gank the bottom lane. And you'll notice, even though the ganking jungler has really tried to gank a bit more, he's rewarded himself permanently by going back to camps after trying to make an action, or used his camps to get an item spike or level spike, and then gone for some more action. And in doing so, he still managed to keep up parity with the HECARIM, who now invested a lot of time taking a Herald and a Dragon. So farming junglers were very very typically do this. Sequence, sequence, sequence. They won't gank as much on your elos, they will play around their ultimates, but then they'll spend time doing heralds and dragons. And as a ganking jungler, that's time you can use to gank a lane. Take a camp, take a scuttle, counter jungle a camp. And that experience adds up in addition to the fact that you also just killed their Aphelios. So upon resetting here, we do have the HECARIM going in more default build. I do recommend you go Ravenous Hydra. However, a lot of HECARIM still like this default build. It still works a lot and it still works very, very well. But in my opinion, Ravenous Hydra is the best in slot rush item. And then of course, if you want to go Sundra or Duskblade or Jack Show or whatever variations you want to do, you can do that. But for SYLAS, yeah, Night Harvester, some Sorg Boots, Shadowflame, Azanias plus Mejais, you're looking to 1v9 with this damage and you're looking to scale with your Harvest, so you need to be active. In an absolutely huge oversight of cosmic proportions, the HECARIM ganks the bottom lane and doesn't use the Herald. The SYLAS shows up for 2 more clean kills and can fall back to his quadrant, much like the HECARIM fell back to his quadrant after doing the gankings. So even though you don't necessarily clear fast early, once you start getting items in this particular game, in this particular meta, and when you combine this with the buffs that have come through by the time a lot of you will watch this, you're going to be getting way more experience from level 5 camps and up, you're going to be getting less gold, and if you build resistances, you're going to be able to maintain this kind of farming even if you're playing a tankier boy. Overall though, the pets and the damage and all those tunings won't change the nature of the new jungle in terms of what we're looking to accomplish. But both junglers are having a solid game, but you're noticing, look at the CS. The HECARIM is being forced to play a more aggressive style, to be in the lanes, and despite the slower start from the SYLAS, he's able to find these opportunities and maintain the CS parity while having the same or more KP. Crucial. Now at this stage for both junglers, the goal here is to get those treats down to 0 while keeping our lead, and even though the Herald doesn't allow us that same elevation of game state again as you would have seen in the last video, don't do what the SYLAS does here, which is get a little bit desperate. He gets a little bit worried about the nature of the lanes. The top laners don't really exist. And what does he do? He goes for a fight in the river. He ends up being caught out and he ends up dying and giving away a huge shutdown, while the HECARIM now can carry on farming. So as soon as you have an unnecessary fight, an unnecessary death, you make a dumb play. Your gray screen gives the enemy jungler all of that farming tempo back. Everything you worked so hard to maintain in terms of equal farming patterns is just gone. What you should have done in this particular case is just shove it out, look for sideline action, or fall back to your blue side camps, and then shadow the HECARIM maybe going top lane for one time. Maybe we can bust it down and get the Yorg some top lane macro push. Now SYLAS feels compelled to do his blue side into that top herald. Again, a very good play, but one we shouldn't have to make because we shouldn't have died. The HECARIM in the meantime and has now kept farming, takes some more cams, goes to the bottom lane, we're able to get another double kill or some more kills. We think about the Krugs, but then we decide, hey, no, because SYLAS is on his way. SYLAS protects his house, kills the ADC in the meantime, and now again the HECARIM has the opportunity to basically use a bit of tempo advantage, goes to the top lane York, who's now finally oversplitting and overcommitting, which always happens for top laners in most elos, gets a free kill. Sequences down. In the meantime, the SYLAS, now I'm under pressure, I need to 1v9 this game, goes too deep and dies. So what you're learning here is that you can do your damn best as a ganking jungler to match a farming jungler. But as soon as you get overzealous and as soon as you overcommit to things and make those positional errors, you can throw away your entire lead. And so what I want to stress to you as SYLAS will try and respawn now as the HECARIM is able to use that gray screen to farm some more. He goes wolves up. He sequences inside out. If we need to be with our team because we are the carry condition, think about going outside in so that when something happens, we can rotate to it instead of looking top lane for random picks. This is the single most important facet of mid-game farming and rotations that I can give you. You guys grouping for dragon and everyone's in the bottom lane because mid's pushed up and you want to join them, but this farming's on the way, do Raptors, Red Krugs, and then join them. Don't go Krugs, Red Raptors, and go mid lane because now you have to spaghetti path and loop back. And as you're seeing, these deaths, these unfortunate positions from the SYLAS undid all his work. He is now late to fights. HECARIM's a better team fighter. The Divine Sunder is doing work as his frontline force. And all of a sudden, he's down 20 CS, and the HECARIM's team is just going to straight up flat out win the game from this. From the death mid lane. Not even from the pick in the river where he died in the blue side jungle. The pick in the mid lane, as our respawn timers go up, really are what causes 20-30 CS lead to quickly escalate, and farming junglers are just waiting for you to make those mistakes. So as a ganking jungler, you want to maintain parity, you do everything the SYLAS did up until the point where he suicided. Make sure that you are looking to play around the counter ganks, you're cleaning and protecting your house, don't overcommit for risky ganks, but definitely do look for them. Outside in rule is king, and if you're farming jungler, play like the HECARIM, be patient, and obviously don't overcommit to things yourself, and in the end it will come down to which jungler keeps their head on in the mid and the late game, but the early jungling phase, both a ganking jungler and a farming jungler in this season alone can maintain farming and ganking tempo with each other. So instead of asking, which should I do, farm or gank, think how should I do gank and farm? And if you want to become the most supreme jungler known to mankind, then click the video in the box on the top right.